Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive debate for San Diego homeowners, the very tempting promise of completely skipping the concrete on your next fence project. We're going to dive straight into the hard data to see if these trendy no-dig systems actually hold up to our totally unique local environment, or if they're literally just a shortcut to a future headache. So can you really just skip the concrete? Let's be real for a second. If you've ever blown a whole weekend digging out holes, lugging around 80-pound bags of concrete, mixing it, and then sitting around waiting for it to cure, you know exactly how backbreaking that labor is. The appeal of a DIY no-dig kit is massive. But as a local, you really have to ask yourself, can a fence anchored without a solid concrete footing actually survive our local elements, our weird soil, and our heavy winds?
To answer that, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the no-dig fence hype, look at San Diego's ultimate stress tests, discuss gates and privacy fences, break down the true costs and lifespans, and finally, help you make your final decision.
All right, Section 1, the no-dig fence hype and understanding the mechanics.
Okay, let's get right into it. A no-dig fence is exactly what it sounds like. It's a fencing system designed to anchor your posts using a driven steel spike, which is usually this hollow sleeve with an auger tip that you literally just hammer or twist into the dirt. Sometimes it's a surface mount plate bolted to concrete you already have. The entire goal here is skipping the grunt work of digging and pouring. But, and this is absolutely crucial to remember, a driven spike only grips the immediate few inches of dirt right around it. Just look at the massive mechanical difference here. A spike relies 100% on friction with the surrounding dirt. Traditional concrete set posts, on the other hand, sit in an excavated hole that's backfilled with concrete. That footing extends a solid 24 to 36 inches down into the earth. It cures into this rigid mass that spreads the load of your fence across a wide, super stable surface. So really, you're looking at friction versus a massive, solid anchor. Moving on to Section 2, San Diego's ultimate stress tests. Nature versus your fence.
40 to 50 miles per hour. That right there is the single biggest reason a no-dig fence fails in San Diego. During our offshore Santa Ana wind events, we get sustained gusts pushing right through our inland valleys and canyon corridors at those exact speeds. And honestly, that is exactly the kind of lateral, sideways load that a shallow, driven spike is least equipped to handle. Think about the physics for a second. A tall privacy panel basically acts like a giant sail. When that Santa Ana wind hits it, it catches all that load at the top of the post and creates a crazy strong twisting force straight down into the base. Because a spike sleeve only grips the soil immediately around it, repeated wind cycles just work it loose. It's exactly the same way wiggling a nail back and forth widens and loosens a hole in a piece of wood. And it's not just the wind, it's the ground underneath us. San Diego's incredibly varied soil actively fights against the friction a spike needs. If you're out in Santee or El Cajon, you might hit caliche, which is this hard mineral crust that literally feels like concrete and will stop or bend a steel spike cold. Down in Chula Vista or the South Bay, expansive clay swells up when it's wet and shrinks when it dries out, wiggling that spike loose. And if you're on a hillside slope, you're dealing with disturbed fill soil and decomposed granite, meaning you get incredibly inconsistent grip.
Section 3, Gates and Privacy Fences. The moving parts.
Now, you might be wondering, can I just easily hang a functional gate on one of these no-dig spikes? The reality? Almost never. At least, absolutely not without using traditional concrete for those specific gate posts. And here is why. A gate is what engineers call a dynamic load, while a regular fence panel is a static load. Every single time you open and close that gate, you rack the post side to side. You're constantly reversing the stress direction on the hinge. A driven spike might actually survive a few years of steady wind, but it will be completely destroyed within months by the daily reversing stress of a swinging gate. The dirt friction just gives out. That's exactly why even professional installers who use lighter methods will always set their gate posts in concrete.
The exact same logic applies to your standard 6-foot privacy fence. These are literally the worst-case scenario for a no-dig system. Tall, solid panels catch maximum wind, instantly blowing right past the resistance limits of driven spikes. Plus, let's be honest, if you're putting up a tall privacy fence, you expect it to last for decades, right? Not just a couple of seasons. For full privacy height anywhere in San Diego, concrete is the unquestioned professional standard. Section 4, True Costs and Lifespans. Let's get to the bottom line. There are some really massive trade-offs you have to consider here. No-dig spikes are awesome for short garden fences, but they offer a pretty low wind resistance. They run about $15 to $30 a foot, but you're only getting 5 to 10 years out of them. Surface mounts are great for patios, lasting 8 to 15 years.
But traditional concrete? That's your go-to for privacy, gates, and slopes. Yes, it costs more upfront, 40 to 70 bucks a foot installed, but you get high wind resistance and a massive 20 to 30 plus years of life. So, when you look at the average upfront cost per foot, those DIY no-dig kits seem like an absolute steal on materials. But man, that savings is deceptive. It shrinks incredibly fast if you start driving spikes, hit some rock-hard caliche and El Cajon, ruin your materials, and end up having to dig a real footing anyway. Or, even worse, if a Santa Ana wind blows the whole thing over in year 2 and you have to redo all that labor. You are actively trading upfront labor savings for a drastically shorter service life. We're talking an average lifespan of 7.5 years for no-dig compared to 25 years for concrete. You really have to ask yourself, is saving a weekend of digging today worth replacing the entire fence line in less than a decade?
Plus, there's a hidden cost you might not have thought about: your HOA and your home's resale value. No-dig setups are widely viewed as semi-temporary. They generally will not pass an architectural review for a permanent property line fence. So if your fence needs to hold its value and clear a strict HOA, concrete is for sure the safer bet.
All right, Section 5, making your final decision, the wrap-up. Here is your final no-fluff checklist before you spend a dime. A no-dig fence is a fantastic fit if you need a short, decorative run under 4 feet on flat, firm, sandy coastal soil far away from wind corridors. But it is the absolute worst fit for tall privacy panels, hillside sloped lots, fences with gates, or properties sitting on decomposed granite, caliche, or expansive clay. If your yard has slopes, gates, wind exposure, or rocky soil, posts set in concrete are undeniably your safest, most cost-effective long-term investment. So I'll leave you with this final question to chew on. Before you run off to the hardware store for materials, or before you hire a contractor who just hands you the fastest quote, look out at your yard and ask yourself, are the upfront labor savings of a no-dig fence truly worth a significantly shorter service life? Is taking the easy road today going to cost you way more tomorrow? Knowing your soil, your wind, and your long-term goals is the only way to answer that for sure. Thanks so much for joining us on this explainer, and we will see you next time.